Welcome back to Peacemakers 360. I'm your host Christian Chito, and today in the studio I have a very impressive guest. He comes all the way from the Ivory Coast. His name is David Coulibaly. David Coulibaly is doing his Masters in International Peace Studies here at the Kroc Institute, and he has come with amazing experience working with Save the Children, working also with a non-profit global organization called Global Tassel, and you'll hear more about what he's been doing as a peace builder as this discussion unfolds. Thank you very much, David.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Accepting this invitation.
Oh, thanks for having me.
It's great to have you today. But one thing we want to start with, maybe to kick this conversation, is what has been the first step for you as a peace builder? Do you recall that moment when you started working in this field?
Well, I've always been someone keen on social justice, lack of opportunities for others. So since my very early childhood, I always speak out against arbitrary ways of treating other people, injustices. And then I always wanted to help out other people. So I wanted to actually be a lawyer so that I could defend people who could not defend themselves. But that's a long story. And then in 2008, and I started working. I got this opportunity to work with Save the Children, with children, but it was actually conducting research in the soccer industry, trafficking, which is like a new form of trafficking, but it's a nice research about it. So they actually hired somebody to do the research, but he didn't do a good research. So I was lucky because I like soccer, and also I'm very concerned about the safety of children as well, so I love that. So I was very much immersed in the whole research. So when the research came out and they liked it, and I was also transformed by what I've seen and how people were treating, exploiting, and using the dreams of those young people. And then I said, I need to do something about it. And then also was, my country was going through this decade-long conflict, and I was like, I need to find ways to bring people together. I need to find ways to advocate for peace. And so that's pretty much how I started developing passion for peace building and peace relating activities.
It is so interesting actually to hear your journey, how it started as a young person. And one of the things that I like in what you're saying is your instinct that was always focused on trying to bring justice.
Absolutely.
Right as a kid.
Yeah.
We see many kids growing up, especially in a world where violence occurs. We see the media portraying a lot of movies that incite violence, and many of the children that actually watch those kind of things turn up into being violent people. But taking you back again into your own journey, do you have any example of where you yourself have been victimized as a child, and how did you respond to that kind of place?
Well, my childhood is a long story of up and downs, and I could talk about the vicissitudes of my life. Like the difficulties. It was a bumpy road. There's been a lot of experience in sad events that could have led me to be a very bad person. But I don't know why. Maybe it's my instinct, but I've seen a lot of things. I never wanted to be like other people. So, but talking specifically about something that really actually encouraged me to be a peace builder and to always advocate for ways to solve conflict and advocate for economic development for people was during the 2010 post-electoral conflict in the countries. I was the communicator director of my political party for my neighborhood. So I was very vocal. I would, encourage people to go out and vote. So when my party won and the incumbent president lost, he refused to step down. And then they start targeting people like me, so I get in serious trouble. I try to leave the country. The first time I try to leave, I was stopped by a militia group. And I spent like almost 5 to 6 days. On the 6th day they let me go. and it was very not easy. They beat me up. I still have a lot of scars, and what saved me was my name David, and I'm gonna come back to that. But I've seen a lot of human right violation, like blatant human right violation, like killing people in front of me, raping girls, and beating people. It was horrible, and that was done by other young people under the influence of drug. So I could have been like, I need to retaliate, I need to fight back. Those people didn't know what they were doing. They were manipulated by politicians and also were heavily under the influence of drugs. So why would I be mad at those kind of people? Do they know what they're doing? No. I mean, I think something actually happened, like you could call it providence, God, but I was saved because they were targeting Muslims and people coming from the north. And my name is David Coulibaly, and David sounds a bit like Christian, and then I'm sinful from the north, so a lot of us, we are either Christian, Muslim, so that's how my life, I believe, I would say. But that very specific event really transformed my life. When I was released, my brothers wanted to fight back, kill other people. They actually were fighting back, for their own safety. Then when I came, I said, no, you don't have to do that, because we are all being manipulated by politicians. So we need to not give in that easily. We don't have to be like the object that they're going to use to stay in power or for their own political gain, whatever. So I was very vocal in that very specific attempt to change what was happening in my country.
One of the things that I like about what you're saying, David, and it's actually, sorry first of all to hear those traumatic experiences. I know it has been very difficult for you to go through that, and it's such a very painful thing when you think of yourself as a peace builder, when you've gone through all of those things and you still have those memories with you. But one of the things I would like to maybe move as we continue this conversation, you've mentioned that you've worked with Save the Children and you've helped doing a research that was basically aimed to reduce the trafficking of small boys who are taken to Europe on the alleged promised dream to become these superstars. And we know that the West African region has a lot of young talents. Yeah. And I'm just curious to know more about what did you find out and how is that research helping actually to address this problem in West Africa?
Oh, thanks for this very good question. Actually, we're going to play against you guys in the Chan. We're very good soccer player. I used to be a soccer player as well. And I always wanted to be the next very good superstar, but again, I always thought that feet cannot be better than mind. So that's my philosophy, and I always wanted to let me go to school. It is true that people using their feet and getting a lot of money. We going to school, get a master, PhD, we never make that much money they're making.
Yeah.
So, and in answering your question is, I was just having dinner with Save the Children National Director and one of my friends. That's when they say, okay, do you want to do this research? And that's how the whole thing started. So I conducted this research in Abidjan, the main city of Ivory Coast, and also in other countries like Burkina, Mali, and when I was studying in South Africa, I tried to see if there was that issue there. But my finding is that there are a lot of, in Abidjan, there are so many unregulated football academies.
Okay.
They're not regulated, and there's so many children playing for those academies, and the children are from 7 to 19 years old. They are very small, children, and you have those very unscrupulous football agents. They are not agents, but they call themselves agents. So what they do is they will come, okay, I'm an agent. Most of them live in Europe, and then when you come from Europe, people just believe whatever you say because it's considered like the El Dorado, those people. So it will tell the parent, I know some very good football club in Europe, so if you pay me this money, then I will take your children to play in Europe. And it's so bad because family will take huge loans from other people. Some will sell their own properties, the yard, the cars, to invest in that very specific child, because they believe if that person makes it, the whole family makes it. And what happened? Those fake agents would take the children, usually dump them in Europe, at the airport, and just disappear. Or some would succeed to go in Europe, but would just be like left to their own device on the street in Europe. It's cold, they know where to go. They will never go play for a club. So those are some of the findings that I found, and I was able to travel to countries like Burkina Faso to reunite some children with their family. And so the children was paying for all those things, and so that was some of my findings. And I worked with a lot of BBC and great media Al Jazeera to discuss this specific issue. And we also actually have like a movie called Slave to Football that was published by Al Jazeera, and we did it in Ivory Coast and in Ghana. And it was so difficult to actually shoot the movie in Ivory Coast because some of the elites, some of the people at the top level of the Ministry of Sport were also involved in this trafficking because it's a lot of money. So yeah, it was very sad, but finally Sedi Children used that report and to advocate for to change that fledgling in trafficking, and also to it feed into global advocacy and policy, and so that's some of the findings.
Very fascinating indeed, because now even as we are talking, there is a lot of human trafficking that is happening around the world, and it comes in different forms. And in the case of the West African context where you've worked, football has been used by so many alleged supporters or donors of soccer to come and take children into places where they don't want to be. And maybe for you as a peace builder, currently you're taking your master's in international peace studies, and you've done over the past 6 months, you were in the Philippines for your internship. How do you connect your experience working for children in the West African context with your 6-month internship? Did you find some resonance with your experience doing internship?
Well, there's a lot of similarities. I was actually blessed to be in the Philippines because I learned a lot. It was a very rewarding experience. And I've seen, as opposed to children in my country, like the most important thing I want to invest on is empowering children to become peace builders or to become peace agents. So what happened in Ivory Coast today, you have children from the age of 7 to 8 to 19-year-old. You have the same age group in the Philippines too. But the difference between the two groups, in Ivory Coast, those people are called microbes. You know what I mean by microbes? Like in biology, these very invisible bacteria, I don't know if I have to call it bacteria, that lives in us and destroy us. That's how we call, this is the analogy. So those people, those children are so small, but they kill people on the street. They take lives. And people are so scared of them in Ivory Coast today. Even the government is at a loss for solution to crack down on this situation. What they do, they kill those little children and they send them to jail. Then I was in the Philippines and I've seen like the same kind of children doing peace work. I was taken aback, like, wow, 7? The youngest I've seen, the youngest in the Philippines, she was 12, and she was facilitating a culture of peace seminar in front of a lot of people. She was well spoken. You can see the leadership that she exudes. She was so confident, and she's doing so good in school. And I say, this is something I can replicate in my country. This is one possible solution for this growing issue in Africa, in Ivory Coast, like the issue of teen gang and children involved with trouble with the law, So I was like, okay, this is something I need to do when I get back home. So that's something that's one of the takeaways from my experience in the Philippines. There are so much, but this is something I love to work with children because I believe they're already they're not the future generation, they are the leaders. So it starts with them. because they're going to be people tomorrow. We're not going to be there forever. So once we empower them, we give them the right tool for them to become better citizens, better human beings, then we are likely to have a much better, peaceful society. So I was very much
impressed
by how organization I was working for, World Vision in the Philippines, are implementing those strategies and that are changing the lives of so many children there. And I believe this is something that should be replicated in my Ivory Coast, because you see the contest, same age but doing totally different things. So
one of the things I like, and which is very fascinating about your experience in the Philippines, is to see that the same children that you are looking at as microbes, as you had mentioned,
in Ivory Coast,
were working actually for peace. But one thing that I also know is that in many cases when we think of peace work that is done in a certain country, sometimes it takes another kind of context. Different contexts need different strategies to get to be implemented. And I'm just wondering if you're thinking of moving forward with this kind of same example of what happened in the Philippines with the children that you were engaging with. Of course, you were interning with the World Vision. What are some of the things that you think should take place for such a program to actually take place in the Ivory Coast context?
In a context, like as you say, as we peace builders, so we always need to have the conflict assessment to really understand the context before. It's not because this pill is working for Cheeto that it's going to work for me. We could go to the hospital for the same condition, but we might have different remedy. So I'm not going to copy paste my experience from the Philippines in the Ivorian context, but it's going to be a much more similar approach. But the context is, again, totally different. So what I'm thinking, because I believe in education, I'm not saying I don't believe in soccer, because soccer they play, people are putting a lot more importance on how to use your feet to be rich, to be successful. And I want to put more importance on the mind, education. So I'm thinking this is something I really like to do. So to implement that that framework of empowering children as peace agents, I believe I'm going to start, because you can just start like with a big group. So there's a specific neighborhood that I'm going to use for testing, to test my theories, how things going to happen. Maybe start with 10 children and see within 6 months what's going to happen. So I'm going to start with a small group and then focus on those people. They're going to be the core team, So once they are really good, then we can just utilize them. We could just I don't like the way you utilize, but they could be used as role models,
facilitators, or role models.
Absolutely. They're going to use facilitator as leaders to empower other children. So that's my strategy, finding the right children, tens of them, focus more on them and work with them for them to really understand peace strategies, mediation, leadership, and designing the whole Ivorian concept of empowering children as peace agents, because you have to understand the context, the history of the country, and what are the dividers, what are the connectors, what are things that can bring people together, and what is actually things that are actually dividing people, or what are the drivers for those children to become criminals as opposed to other children doing amazing things. So I'm going to focus on, that's one of my strategies, to focus on a small group of people and see what that's going to lead.
It's so fascinating indeed when you're thinking of starting with a small microcosm that can be actually grow into a bigger national phenomenon. And I'm wishing you all the success.
Thank you.
It's such a great project. And for so many of us who are watching today, this is David Coulibaly. He's from Ivory Coast, as you've heard from him. He's very, very interested in working with children. And if you are interested to follow up with him, David, is there any way they can contact you, if there is any email address or any ways that people can continue this kind of conversation with you, working and empowering children as peace builders?
Absolutely. I have my email address. I live in New York City, currently living at Notre Dame, completing my master's degree in international peace studies. But I can be reached at my email, which is dcoulibA @nd.edu.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
This is Peacemaker 360. Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah.
David has one more point.
No, I think I made a mistake with the email. It's dcoulaba@nd.edu. And you can also call me, 212-470-7470. Thank you for listening.
It was a great pleasure to have you today, David. Thank you again for taking the time to accept our invitation. We hope you've learned from David, and we wish you also great success in every piece work that you're doing wherever you are. See you next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me, man.
All right.
Thank you.